All right, Sussy Bakas, you voted for William Smitherino. This is an interesting. I mean, it's relevant information anyway. Oh, Will Smith has been, he's attracting some attention with, well, really his wife is by, consistently disrespecting him in order to plug her new book called Musty. I don't remember the Must Be. What is the new book? Jada's new book. First search result was Jada's new hair. So I'm glad that she got that. Worthy is what it's called. So yeah, let's see what we got here. This is by Captain Midnight. There you go. Silly Willy.
This video is brought to you by Brilliant.
Cool.
On June 15th, 2023, Will Smith's official YouTube channel uploaded a video called Undawn: How Not to Get Annihilated by Zombies. The second of his 2 ads for some kind of free-to-play zombie game. In the video, he riffs on different weapons in the game for 4.5 minutes on
What? A video game ad?
On a post-apocalyptic garage.
Wait, hold on. What?
Riffs on of his Undawn: How Not. Smith's official YouTube channel uploaded a video called Undawn: How Not to Get Annihilated by Zombies. The second of his 2 ads for some kind of free-to-play zombie game.
This guy's doing mobile video game ads? I feel like Will Smith doing mobile video game ads? Why? What?
Apocalyptic garage set.
Okay.
It's kind of a bizarre watch, honestly. Not that it's unusual to see actors do ads or anything, especially these days, but it was still a little strange to see from the guy who spent so many years as perhaps the biggest star in all of Hollywood.
Yeah, like I understand. I saw a couple of the people from Harry Potter, like Luna Lovegood, the actress, do a mobile ad for a Harry Potter game. I get it. But William Smitherton?
But years like 2007, when Will Smith could single-handedly power I Am Legend to massive success at the box office, are long behind us. And even though he successfully won an Oscar in a prestige biopic,
yeah, after smacking Chris Rock, it's crazy.
I think his career was in an interesting state of flux even before the slap and all the endless online commentary on his marriage. And that's what I want to talk about this week. Not the slap itself or the celebrity gossip about his personal life, which honestly I'm very tired of, but Will Smith, the actor, because to me that's far more interesting.
I just remember when Will Smith had that whole scene with Uncle Phil, and he's like, "Why doesn't my dad want me, bro?" I cried. My wife's home scared the fuck out of me. I almost cried again.
Because as much as I've seen him in the
baby
news for the past year, not
or maybe something just fell.
Much of it has been about the current
someone broke
state
into my
of
house.
his film career. Before I really get into it,
Okay, I have to see. Somebody might have broken into my house. It's like Jada tried to break into my house, dude. Oh, Jesus, fuck.
but though I will say I am recording from the road, so if my audio sounds a little different this week, that would be why.
I think this guy made I've watched a couple of this guy's videos before. I actually like his content a lot.
Just think. The person that uses their head can always defeat the person that's just trying to use their hands. Now remember
True.
that, 'cause the more
That's why when I'm fighting somebody, I like punch, and then I slap him with my penis. Got to use your head, baby. Got to get your head in the game. That's what some people would say. A little bit crass and crude, but you got to do what you got to do.
4 years ago, I made a video called The Great and Frustrating Career of Will Smith, where I said that Smith has always been one of my favorite actors. The guy is a charisma powerhouse with a lot more range than I think he's often given credit for. But I also said,
Bro, honestly, I think that they should have made him Green Lantern. I think they really missed the mark not making Will Smith Green Lantern. There is a black Green Lantern. His name is Jon Stewart, and he's a great Green Lantern. I think Will Smith would have been perfect. But they didn't make him Green Lantern, so it wasn't perfect. They made Ryan Reynolds. He's not bad, but the movie just obviously didn't hit particularly well.
said that he tends to play it very safe with his choice of roles. Maybe too safe. It's been interesting to see his fellow...
I feel like this is the perfect time. Anytime you hit rock bottom is an opportunity to innovate. And so I think that I think that Will Smith should try to do is kind of like a new crazy role that might be a little different for him. I think it could be very interesting.
90s and 2000s mega film stars navigate the current film landscape. Some, like Leonardo DiCaprio, have mostly retreated from the blockbuster space, carving out a career of often great films with beloved directors. Others have set up successful franchises for themselves, like Keanu Reeves with John Wick, or even an older star like Denzel Washington, whose Equalizer films may not be on the same level as Wick, but have proved very reliable for Denzel. And at least I think...
I love fucking Denzel Washington, dude. Like, I love fucking him. I think he's fantastic.
...have actually improved with every installment. This has allowed all three of those actors to more or less keep doing what they want, without becoming a cog in someone else's franchise machinery. Now, Will Smith never really went down either of those paths outside of Bad Boys, which took a huge break but now seems to be roaring back to life. Men in Black was very dependent on his chemistry with Tommy Lee Jones, and then was taken away from them in the terrible Men in Black International. Same with Independence Day 2. I still can't believe they tried to make another Independence Day without Will Smith. Awful idea. But yeah, pure action vehicles like...
I mean, would it have been any better with Will Smith? I don't even know at this point, you know? Who fucking knows?
the very technically...
It's so interesting because I came across... I didn't watch the movie, but he did a movie with, like, you know, Serena and Venus Williams. It was... I don't know if it was good or not. Or not with them, but it was about their life, and he played the dad and whatnot. And I came across it on TikTok, and it was Will Smith, and I'm like, ew. Because I don't like Will Smith anymore. It's hard to respect him after, you know, what's going on. And I know that his wife is not a good person, in my opinion. But also, there's a level of blame to put onto him. Like, you know, you're letting her, you know, treat you like this. So it's just like, but then I watched him, I'm like, oh, he's a really good actor. But it's hard to want to engage.
The impressive Gemini Man also failed to connect with audiences, which to be fair was from the often great director Ang Lee. He also did an animated movie with Spies in Disguise, which was definitely greeted with a shrug, and maybe as the result of not having something like Wick or Equalizer, we've seen Smith take roles like Deadshot in Suicide Squad, which
could have been good, but that movie was fucking terrible. At least that's my opinion. It was fucking god-awful dog shit. So.
Was quickly shunted aside and rebooted without him, and the live-action Aladdin, which was actually a huge hit, but obviously more of the credit there was given to the property rather than Smith himself. I think I've said in the past that one of his more overlooked films is 2015's Focus with Margot Robbie. Sure, it's nothing overly ambitious, but it's a rock-solid crime caper film that gets a lot of mileage out of the charisma of its stars. I feel like if that hadn't completely gone unnoticed and had been marketed better...
I think I've only seen a clip where she's trying to rob him, and then she tries to fuck him to get his money or something. It was weird. I don't know.
Probably with a title that wasn't so nothing. It could have provided Smith with the kind of franchise stability that other older stars have found. I know I'd show up for more slick Will Smith con job movies. So those are his recent-ish popcorn films, and aside from some box office bright spots like Bad Boys for Life and Aladdin, it hasn't been super smooth sailing. I mean, I guess I didn't even get to Bright, the orc cop movie on Netflix.
Oh, I didn't even watch that. I thought it was the weirdest, dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. I mean, is this movie any good? I mean, I get it, it's racism, but with fantasy characters, but it's just like, how many times can that be done? You know?
Which... Yeah, anyway...
if I want racism with fantasy characters, I will play World of Warcraft, sir. Okay?
Box office hits aren't everything, right? So what about his smaller, more personal projects? You know, the prestige or art house stuff. Well, this is where I think Smith or Smith's team has never quite had the taste in scripts that some of his contemporaries have. He did win an Oscar last year, so clearly before things completely went off the rails, they were doing something right. I don't think King Richard is anything all that special, honestly, as far as these kind of glossy biopics go, but he did do a great job in a film that felt like it was designed in a lab to win him an Oscar. That's the thing with Will Smith. I feel like when he's called upon to stretch his performance outside of the usual charming movie star persona, he is good at it. He absolutely has the chops, and I think he's demonstrated that time and again.
You know what I think would be really good for Will Smith's career? Getting a divorce. I think Will Smith is the only person that I would understand it if he didn't want to be around his kids. Because I feel like Jada has poisoned has fucking poisoned them against him, man. I don't know. When you got your daughter writing letters to Tupac, oh, I wish you were my daddy. I wish you were my real dad. So does Jada, obviously. Something's going on. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, Will, leave her. Get out of there. Get away from those kids, too. Run. Just run. Run!
But the smart calculation of King Richard aside, he and his team have been so bad at choosing prestige dramas. 2015's Concussion, a biopic where he starred as a doctor who studied CTE in American football, garnered a really lukewarm reception, including accusations that it had been re-edited to appease the NFL. And honestly, Smith feels a little bit miscast there, even if he does have a few genuinely affecting moments. There's the baffling Collateral Beauty, which I'm sure I touched on last time. It's this dopey magical realism drama with Keira Knightley and Edward Norton that I'm kind of amazed got made in the first place. I want to admire how sincere this thing is, but it's so treacly and lame that I can't even do that. Then last year, there was Emancipation from the director of Training Day and Olympus Has Fallen.
I didn't even know he was doing this much shit. Like, I had no fucking idea. I didn't even know he was doing this much fucking stuff. I thought he just stopped acting like 10 years ago.
Antoine
Except for that King Richard
movie. A really
movie.
tense historical action movie about an enslaved man on the run in 1863. Now, I actually think this is a more interesting
Damn, I feel like we get a new goddamn slave movie every year. It's fucking crazy.
and effectively suspenseful film than it was given credit for at the time, and maybe one of the director's best. Now, a lot of critics don't seem to agree, and between being an Apple Plus original and being completely overshadowed,
I know this might be a little bit of an insensitive question, and this is to like any black viewer who might be watching, and I mean no disrespect, and you can criticize me all you want in the comments, and I will take that criticism and I will say, you're right, I'm so sorry. This is just a genuine question as a white man to the black community. Unironically, what do you think would be worse, being black in America 200 years ago or being married to Jada Pinkett Smith? I'm just curious. I'm truly just I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. Okay.
by Smith's personal life, it didn't make much of an impact. I like it though. Something tells me that time will be kind to this one. Or maybe I just overrate any Fuqua project that's halfway decent because I like old school journeyman action directors. I mean, have you seen Southpaw recently? That movie's awesome. Getting back to Smith though, with some rare exceptions, there's something about his choices in non-genre films that have always felt kind of off. And I think in his memoir, Will, we get a glimpse into why that is. Early on in his career, he set out to become the biggest movie star in the world, and to that end, him and his manager created something of a formula for picking movies that would propel him there. He wrote that they studied the box office list of the biggest films of all time, and quote, "What we found is at the center there were always special effects. So it was always special effects, there was always creatures, there was always a love story, so we started looking for movies that had special effects, creatures, and a love story."
What the fuck? Is Will Smith like some kind of a nerdy D&D person? He loves special effects, he loves creatures, and he loves love. I love love too, but what the fuck? all your stories are gonna be about love and fucking this is weird. I mean, I guess that's why he's in love with a creature. What a weird career though. That's so bizarre.
You can see this exact line of thinking in Men in Black and Independence Day, so obviously they were onto something, at least for a time. But you also see something else in that time period that Smith would rarely do again, working with a very, very high-profile auteur director, Michael Mann, on Ali. Ollie
Michael
has
Mann.
honestly never been one of my favorite Mann movies, but Smith is great in it, and I wish Smith would work with these kind of directors more in films that aren't biopics. Like, I don't know how many people have noticed, but Will Smith has just quietly done so many biopics. In my last video on Smith, I criticized him a bit for turning down the role of Django in Django Unchained after Quentin Tarantino wouldn't let his team do a rewrite on it. And I got a little bit of
Do you think he would have been good in Django? I don't know.
backlash in the comments for that. In retrospect, yeah, if the ultra-violent movie wasn't the kind of material he connected with or wanted to sign on to because he felt it was too dark or nihilistic, then obviously he shouldn't do the movie. But I think the issue is less Django specifically, and more that
I don't know. I thought Jamie Foxx was incredible in Django.
he seems very, very reluctant to sign on to anything that wasn't a safe bet that his team had almost complete control over. It's hard to picture Smith in a Chris Nolan, Jordan Peele, or Martin Scorsese movie these days. Even when he worked with M. Night
Do you think that Will Smith only wants to do love stories because it fulfills some sort of fantasy? It's quite possible, my brother in Christ. It's quite
After
possible.
Earth, it was at a very low ebb in the director's career, where Smith had the clout to bring in his team and significantly reshape the script. And though it really did not work out there, I do understand that impulse. Will Smith had a very well-crafted movie star persona that was incredibly successful. It only made sense to be protective of that image and try to be very selective about roles.
A biopic is a film about a historical figure like Oppenheimer. Oh, it sounds cringe.
That leaned into it in the best light. But, you know, that brings us to today. Between that ill-fated Oscar night and the past couple of years of reporting about Will Smith's personal life, I think it's safe to say that that movie star persona has become far more complicated at best and maybe kind of shattered at worst. That process has been uncomfortable, it's been weird, and I'm sure fairly embarrassing for all involved. But there's a reason I'm not calling this video the end of Will Smith's career or something like that. Because as much as people have mocked and criticized the guy for the past couple of years, I do think there might be a small silver lining to be found here, at least as far as his film work goes. That memoir I mentioned earlier, Will, it might be hard to remember now, but all the articles about that book were making things a little strange for Will Smith far before the slap happened. I read it immediately after release, and I went into it expecting a very manicured, on-brand portrait of him. The kind that you find in a lot of celebrity autobiographies like this. And what I got instead was far more raw and personal. And sure, I don't doubt that even that was calculated to a certain degree by a PR team trying to win an Oscar, but there was something genuinely unflattering and uncomfortable about some of the stories in there, and I came away from it thinking that Will Smith was ready to move on from the brand of Will Smith. The light, family-friendly entertainer of parents just don't...
Yeah, Will Smith's like the John Cena. It's like the John Cena. John Cena's an excellent heel, bro, but... they don't give him his time to shine, you know? They don't give him the opportunity to become. They don't give him the opportunity to be a heel. He was an excellent heel, dude, but now he's got to be all family friendly bullshit.
Understand, and Men in Black, who is always up for some fun, wholesome laughs and action. And now, for better or worse, that image has been changed forever. How that happened was, not great, but I think now that he doesn't have that very precise...
Well, it's all Jada, bro. And, it's all Jada. That's what it is. That's why it's not great. He married the wrong woman. And, in Jada's defense, she let all the warning signs out there, being obsessed with her dead ex-boyfriend. He really dodged a bullet, by the way, by not dodging that bullet. Let's be real. Let's be absolutely fucking real,
Image to maintain... Why not try to get more artistically daring with his career? Why not take a great lead or even supporting role in a Paul Thomas Anderson or Bong Joon-ho film? Or seek out exciting younger talent that would have a hard time getting financed.
Roman Reigns is not better. Roman Reigns is fucking cringe.
Without his name and place his trust in them. At this point, really, what is there to lose? Why not take some bold film role risks that the Will Smith of 2005 never would have on the big screen? Speaking of 2005, have you ever heard of Will Smith's hip-hop album that came out that year, Lost and Found?
No, I haven't.
After the slap, I remember a lot of people...
Although I feel like Will Smith's the kind of guy that makes hip-hop for white people. You know what I mean? That's not an insult. But It might also be a little bit of one. Just, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but
online discovering how strange and kind of angry that album was. Like the weird Will Smith of 2022 had been hiding in plain sight all along and no one noticed. The thing is, though, I wasn't shocked by Lost and Found. I knew that album very, very well. Because in 2005, I was a weird homeschooled kid in 7th grade that was listening to Will Smith instead of Kanye or...
See? Told you. Will Smith makes music for... Will Smith makes hip-hop for white people. Okay. Thank you, Will. Thank you, William. I appreciate that. I genuinely appreciate you making hip-hop for me, brother. I do. Sorry, I'm just like posting a short. Stupid as hell.
Or T.I. I just liked the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and iRobot that much, I guess. I was 12, okay? But one thing that comes through very clear in Lost and Found
Getting
is
jiggy with
Smith's
it.
insecurity about not being accepted by his hip-hop peers. It's all over that album, recognizable to me even as a kid. And I would say that sense of insecurity applied to everything is felt throughout his memoir as well. And look, I'm just about the last person who is going to weigh in on if he was actually a talented rapper or not. I don't feel especially qualified to do that. I will say unequivocally that I think he can be a great actor.
I think that people, and listen, I've never really engaged with people that like hip hop or anything too much. Well, I mean, I probably have. We just never talked about it. But I think that people in the hip hop community probably just think Will Smith's a dork. You know? Not to be rude, they probably go like, oh, this guy's kind of a dork. He's kind of a doofus. You know, and I don't think it's too much more than that, in all honesty. Yeah, I think that's it. Nothing crazy, no hot take. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit of a doofus. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Just saying.
Beyond just Will Smith, the movie star brand. And even though his next movie is another Bad Boys film, which is probably a safe career choice after the past few years he's had, I do think there's so much left unexplored for him as an actor and an artist, separate from chasing the dream of being the biggest movie star in the world. We see glimpses of it in movies like Pursuit of Happiness and I Am Legend, and I want to see that on screen.
I think he just has too not to continuously say it, but I think he just has too much work stress
and
or home stress, home life. You know, everybody's got a bucket. You know, they have so much stress that they can deal with. And you know what I mean? If you have a stressful home life, you're not going to have too much room in that bucket to really deal with anything. So it's kind of the truth.
Into something new and exciting. Will Smith has already been the biggest movie star in the world, and the past decade or so has felt like him desperately trying to climb back to that before suddenly and violently closing that chapter of his life forever. How he went about that was bizarre and I think pretty clearly a mistake, but it also sets up a potential new chapter. And as someone who has always really liked the guy's work and followed his films closely, I hope ultimately it can be a worthwhile one. You've probably never won an Oscar the same night you did the weirdest thing of your life, but maybe you're also looking for a new chapter.
You don't know me!
Transition was pretty bad, but seriously, Brilliant is not. Brilliant helps you tackle science, math, and computer science concepts like AI and neural networks in incredible ways that always fit into your schedule. Even if you can only spare 15 minutes a day on a tablet, computer, or even your phone.
I do spend 15 minutes a day on that when I'm jacking off, so.
One that's really...
I mean, check out his bio for the thing. It's probably better than jacking off, but hey, I'm already addicted.